Hello my beautiful hammerheads and welcome back to another Black Library review. This time it's Angron, the Red Angel by David Guymer. With the fitting t-shirt of course, because skulls for the Skull Throne. But this book, I don't know, it's so good, but it has such annoying parts in it, it's unbelievable. I love David Guymer as an author. I love his novels. And so I went into this fully enthusiastic, and with Angron having such a tragic backstory, I hoped for so much more. And on many levels, it delivered. This book is great. But, and this is probably a me thing with fighting stuff and so on, and my dislike of stretched fighting scenes. Of course, there can't be a World Eaters, especially in an Angron book, without fighting. I know that, but it is to a ridiculous amount. And I'm sorry, let me start with another thing. So, this is 600 years after the book The Emperor's Gift. One of my favorite books ever of the Black Library. And it is mentioned in this one. So this book, David Guymer, just proves again that he knows what he's doing. And with this book, this is kind of, as I've said, a bad thing. But this is probably, as I've said, a me thing or a World Eaters Angron thing. And everything right now feels connected. And this is one of the criticisms I had about the Black Library, that every novel is basically just enclosed in itself. And Mr. Guymer just takes things from the Rativerse, which I love to call it, so the Walls of Terror series and the Watchers of the Throne series is in this one. Then as I've said, the Emperor's Gift is in this one. And one of the characters, the Grey Knight, the Grey Knights, and this is without my bias for my favorite Astartes after the Ultramarines, they have the better part of the story. And I don't mean in the amount, but it is just better. There is more behind their agenda in this one. And the leader of the Grey Knights is a survivor of the Battle of Armageddon. And as our hero in the mentioned book broke Angron's blade with his psychic might, which was awesome, well, the blade shattered, of course, which, and thus his name Bladebreaker came to be. So the Space Wolves named him Hyperion Bladebreaker after that, which is awesome. But yeah, one of the shards just hit our now hero Grey Knight in the leg, and well, the shard is still in there. And the wound is still bleeding. It never stops bleeding after 600 years. And he always had the opportunity to, well, cut off the leg, get rid of the shard, and yeah, well, the corruption in his incorruptible flesh. But he used it as kinda of a beacon to know what Angron is doing. So there was so much of planning behind everything in here. Well, he had 600 years to prepare for everything. And this is so good. Not only do we get tidbits of that the Grey Knights know what happened to the 2nd and 11th Legion of the Astartes and their Primarchs, and what some of the Grey Knights think the Emperor should have done with Angron, which is awesome in its own way. And you kind of may guess what their thoughts are about what the Emperor should have done with Angron. And also, so much goodness in here on how they see how Angron, well, threw away all his chances to get rid of, well, the corruption and everything else. How Angron was one of the first, of course, to be, well, fall into chaos. How the Conqueror itself is a being in itself. So good. And a slight spoiler for the Siege of Terra series in here. If you know what happens to the Tarasarin, yeah. Well, she's here. Kinda. And this is so good. As I've said, this is a novel which ties everything together, and I love it so much. And even after I've read the Blood Angel series and, well, the Dante review coming next after this one, I've already recorded it. But this one just, oh, this is so good. Because we have one of, well, sanguineous descendancy, let me call it like this. He falls to Khorne. Because, yeah, well, Khorne seeks out the bloodline of Sanguinius because of the Black Rage and stuff. And, well, he's not really a world eater, he doesn't have the butcher's nails, and, well, he craves it. And, spoiler alert, of course, he gets it at some point. It's not really a spoiler, of course, he gets it to become a real world eater. Which is also kind of fascinating on how they recruit new world eaters, just like the Thousand Suns. And whenever a Psyker dies, how they indoctrinate new ones and so on. We get the first person view of Anastartes, well, getting his butcher's nails. It's kind of strange, but awesome. Again, in its own kind of way. But yeah, as I've said, there is so much good to say. However, the fighting scenes, I don't know. I was so annoyed. Well, first of all, as always, not as always, as most of the time, I have the audible version of this one. And Sir Andrew Wincott did a stellar job here. There is nothing to say against Mr. Wincott here. But there is the thing Mr. Guymer did with, well, one of my criticisms with Khorne demons or Khorne followers, that they are just so angry and, oh, I can't contain my fury, only my strong will can contain it, and oh no, and and I don't want to go into this so much because I don't want to scare my pets. I would love to do this as well because I believe that Mr. Wincott had fun here. He sounds like he had fun because this is nothing you do on a regular basis to be so angry. And at first, I believe it was chapter 3. There is one of these scenes, and at first I was, oh no, there's going to be a fight scene, and it's going to be stretched out and elongated into the infinite of the universe. And in this chapter, I was so surprised that it wasn't. The World Eater was, as I've said, angry and so on, and he imagined stuff, things happened in his head, and then in a moment of lucidity, he looks around and everyone around him is dead. And I was like, whoa, okay. This is a good start for the novel. I love this. This is awesome. Yeah, but then we have chapter 12, which is the longest chapter. Well, kind of makes sense. now I believe that this is by design because it's the 12th Legion. And it is, as I've said, the longest chapter in the book, and it is purely fighting. 90 minutes of, almost 90 minutes of fighting. I just turned off. I couldn't. It was just too much. Nothing really happened there. Of course, things happened, but it wasn't really interesting. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. Was it just he had to get to a specific word count? Or I don't know. The interesting part was the Slaaneshi demons with the Keeper of Secrets and so on. Oh, but it was just too much. I don't know what. I have no words for this. I'm sorry. And this is one of the things which will take down my score for this book, because chapter 12 isn't, of course, the last one. And as I've said, I'm totally on board with an Angron / World Eater / Khorne novel to have fighting in it. But it must be interesting. It must be not like chapter 3. Chapter 3 is amazing. It really surprised me. It turned everything I thought about these scenes around and punched me in the face with it. I love this. Not the face punching, but my surprise in this. And I am a little bit too critical with the World Eater side. Of course, they have an agenda. They are doing things because of reasons. However, as I've said, the Imperial side is just by far more interesting on what they are willing to do to stop Angron, to stop the World Eaters. We have 13 survivors of the Battle of Armageddon when, well, as I've said, Hyperion broke Angron's blade. And those 13 know they can't stop the Legion, they can't stop Angron, and what they are willing to do. And I can see, I already know that there are people who will criticize this, but I understand and I love the reasoning behind one of their choices to, well, slight spoiler in here. This is nothing new to the lore. This is one of the points in which Codex Grey Knight's 5th edition was criticized when, well, the Grey Knights just slaughtered Sisters of Battle to consecrate their blades in purity and so on and so on. This is on kinda the same level, it's just a planet. And the reasoning behind it is, well, Angron and the World Eaters, it's just too desirable to be a part of slaughter. I love this. It fits the theme. So, yeah, as I've said, I know I'm just going in circles right now. So many good things. However, also so much annoyingness in here. And even though there were so many parts which were annoying, I went out of the novel with a good feeling. So my initial reaction would have been 8 out of 10 Khorne demons. However, with all the fighting stuff and on how stretched it was, it's a 7, maybe even a 6. And I don't know if my bias is in here right now for the 6 or if it is just really a 6, because just like what I'm doing right now, it's too much. And I'm fully aware of that. I'm sorry. But for everything else, I love this book. This is a part of the greater 40k universe. And I want more of this. I want more references to, like in this one, Watchers of the Throne, Siege of Terror, and so on. And Please, Black Library, more of this, more references to each other. This is a shared universe, and I love it for this. This is why we, the community, are so invested in it. And with this novel, you have a prime example to go forth and do more of it. So yeah, but what are your thoughts on all of this? I know I'm a little jangled right now with the break and a little bit of health issues I had over the last few weeks. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this? Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section down below. I am keen to know what you have to say. And while you're down there, do all the YouTube stuff because hitting buttons is fun. If you want to support the channel and you don't know what to say, just write the Red Angel in the comments. Oh, and I forgot! Oh, Angron's real name. It's not mentioned in here, but the Grey Knights know of it. Well, they know a part of his real name. And they are on the lookout for the real names of the Primarchs. Yes! More of this. Yes! Have a great day. Stay fantastic. Stay hydrated. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!